What is up, bros and broettes? I am Inkslasher, and welcome to the the inaugural episode, if you will, of the Infinite Warfare Weapon Guide. So today we're going to be starting off with the classic weapon, the MacTav. Now, as we know, the MacTav does not actually have any weapon variants, so normally in these type of videos, we're going to be looking at through all the weapons, talking about the better weapon variants for each weapon. However, this weapon doesn't have any weapon variants, so today we're just going to be talking about a best class setup. We're also going to be talking about the weapon guide and stats, and overall how good is this weapon. So with the MacTav, it's obviously a newer and upgraded version of the UMP that we've seen before in many Call of Duty games, and in this game it's considered a classic weapon, which, like I stated earlier, means that there is no weapon variants for this weapon. So let's start by looking at the stats for the MacTav-45. So if we start by looking at the damage profile, the damage profile isn't great for this weapon. The damage profile is 30 damage up close and 23 at mid-range. What this means is you are looking at a 4 to a 5 bullet kill, which isn't fantastic. There's no 3 bullet kill range. However, what this means is that this weapon is extremely consistent. It means that for pretty much everywhere you are, you only have to hit 4 to 5 bullets, which is a great thing when it comes to consistency. Not to mention that the damage doesn't drop off until 43 meters in game. That's a pretty damn long range to have a 4 bullet kill. So overall, those stats are pretty actually good, even though it doesn't have a 3 bullet kill range. Now, the next thing we're going to look at here is rate of fire, and the rate of fire is 666 RPM. So just as a comparison, this RPM isn't fantastic. In fact, it's one of the slowest out of all of the SMGs in Infinite Warfare. In fact, if we compare it to the NV4, which when looking at the NV4 has the exact same damage profile as the MacTav, it has a little bit faster of a fire rate than the NV4. So the NV4 has a fire rate of 612 RPM. The MacTav has a fire rate of 666 RPM. The weapons are incredibly similar when looking at these stats and these stats alone. So knowing these two stats, what does the time to kill look like for this weapon? So first things first, the time to kill is up close. You were looking at 0.270 second time to kill, and at long range, you're looking at 0.360 seconds time to kill. For an SMG, that is a bad time to kill. It is one of the worst time to kills out of all of the SMGs. However, compared to assault rifles, it's right middle of the road. It's not quite as good as the K-Bar, not quite as good as the Type 2, but it's still alright. It's comparable. It's good. It's middle of the road. It's average. I can't think of any other ways of describing it, but it's not a great time to kill, and it's not a bad time to kill. It's right in the middle, just average as far as time to kill goes. As far as the other stats go for this weapon, they're all just pretty good. They're not incredible, they're not bad, like I said, just average. So the magazine size for the MacTav is 32, the aim down sights time is 0.23 seconds, which is pretty much average with the rest of the SMGs, and the reload speed is 2.1 seconds, which is actually pretty quick compared to the other SMGs. So where does this leave this weapon? So I think what it comes down to with this weapon is the recoil. Do you find this recoil manageable? Because for me, I need to use a red dot sight and something along those lines, because with this weapon, first of all, I don't like the iron sights whatsoever. I think they're hard to look through, so I need that. And also, I found that there's just a little bit of recoil, a little bit too much recoil with this weapon. So adding on a grip and adding on a red dot sight is kind of important for me. That being said, I do think the recoil on this weapon is definitely manageable. And because of that, it makes this weapon that's just average. It's a good weapon for the same reason why the NV4 is a good weapon. There is no bad stats on this weapon. The MacTav does not drop off to a 6 bullet kill. It also doesn't have a 3 bullet kill. It's just average, middle of the road. Same with all of the other stats. A 32 round magazine isn't an amazing magazine size, but it's not a bad magazine size. It doesn't have as small of a magazine as, let's say, the HVR. All of the stats are just middle of the road, completely average. So if you want an interesting kind of fact about Call of Duty stats, is whenever you're looking at Call of Duty stats, to find the best weapon in a game, you have to find a stat that is hands above better than all of the other weapons in the game, whether that be fire rate, damage profile, sometimes even accuracy can be that stat that's way better than the other weapons. That weapon is going to be the best weapon in the game, because the other stats that are bad on that weapon won't compensate properly compared to that stat that's, if you will, overpowered. This weapon, the NV4, and even if you want to go back to Black Ops 3 with the KN-44, they were good not because they had amazing stats, but rather that they didn't have any bad stats. That's exactly the way you should look at the MacTav. It doesn't have any bad stats, just average on top of average on top of average. So with this, it actually makes it more difficult to create a good class setup because there is no stats that you want to counteract. For example, if a weapon has a ton of recoil, you want to use grip to fix fix that. If a weapon has a slow fire rate, you might want to use rapid fire to fix that. With this weapon, there's no really bad stats, so there's not the correct attachments to use on this weapon. The attachments you want to use on this weapon are the ones that are going to complement your game style. For example, if you're one of those players who flank a lot, you run around, go behind enemies, you're going to want to use Ghost, and you're going to want to use a silencer. If you're a guy who gets into a lot of head-on-head gunfights, something like rapid fire or maybe even rifled barrel may be the correct attachments for you. What this weapon is going to depend on is the way you play the game. However, if you want to know the class setup that I was using, this is what it looked like. I was using a red dot sight with a grip and quick draw. The reason why I was using those is, like I said, I really don't like the iron sights on this weapon. On top of that, I like to be able to control the recoil with this weapon, and I get in a lot of head-on-head gunfights, so the quick draw helps me with that. On top of that, as far as perks go, I was using dexterity, Ghost. As far as your second perk goes, you can really use whatever you fancy. I think I was using Hardline in this gameplay, but Scavenger's good, Tracker's good. Really, any of the second perks you can choose from. And then as far as the third perk goes, it's always Dead Silence. If you have a headset, I highly recommend Dead Silence. It's going to be your best choice for pretty much any type of game mode with any type of weapon in this game. But that's really all I can say about this weapon, because like I've said many times throughout this video, very average. As far as the stats go, as far as the class setup goes, it's just average. So that's pretty much for this one, but let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think of this weapon? Do you have it unlocked? Did you unlock a different weapon? What weapons do you have that are the classic weapons? And also let me know down in the comment section below which classic weapon you want to see me do next. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, it would be fantastic if you'd hit that like button. If you like what you saw, want to see more Call of Duty videos, you can check out my channel or subscribe. That red button down below is how you do that. Then you'll be informed whenever I upload a video. But you can check out my Twitch, Twitter, all of that crap down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
Tell me you can talk about it.